Hey Gear Seekers, I'm Nick. This is a brand new case from Corsair. It's called the Corsair 6500X. It's been out for about a month. Now, I know what you're gonna say in the comments. Well, at least what some of you will say in the comments, that this just copies the O11 Dynamic. It's another dual chamber case. It's just another Fishtank. Well, the truth is, don't be a brain dead idiot. No one invented the Fishtank. No one invented a glass box. Well, at least it wasn't a case manufacturer. Well, what we're gonna do today, ladies and gents, is our usual thing. We're gonna test the thermals and do a build. I'm gonna let you guys know if this is worth your hard-earned money. And here's the thing, it's a big spoiler, it's worth a lot of your hard-earned money. But before that, here's a word from today's video sponsor. It's Gigabyte. Take it away, Claire.
This video is brought to you by Gigabyte and their powerful and silent Radeon RX 7000 series graphics cards. The Radeon RX 7800 XT Gaming OC 16G features outstanding 1440p and 4K performance in the latest and greatest next-gen gaming titles, while the Radeon RX 7600 XT Gaming OC 16G features class-leading performance in both 1080p and 1440p next-gen gaming titles. The 7800 XT Gaming OC 16G features the Windforce cooling system, which has 3 90mm fans with the center fan spinning in the opposite direction and 7 copper heat pipes to help dissipate the heat quickly and efficiently. The Radeon RX 7800 XT and the 7600 XT are both powerful cards that push your gaming experience to the next level at an affordable price. To find out more about Gigabyte and their range of Radeon RX 7000 series graphics cards, click the links in the description.
Let's start off with panel removal. To remove the TG side panel, there's a little notch on the bottom of the case at the front. Pull that and it swings towards you. But to actually remove the whole panel, you'll need to remove this screw here that is on top of the hinge. And I would recommend doing this because it can be a pain in the butt otherwise. So then you can lift the TG side panel away from the case. And here's another tip. If you're building and you don't want to lose your screw before putting the tempered glass panel back on, just screw it back in for now. To remove the rear panel, there's 2 captive thumb screws, one at the top, one at the bottom. Loosen those thumb screws and then you can pull the panel out towards you and away from the case. To remove the front TG panel, there's 2 screws. There's one at the top and one at the bottom. I'm gonna say from the start, given the size of this case, you probably don't need to remove this panel, but we'll do it anyway because, you know, that's just what we do. And then you'll wanna pop it forward and out from the case. Lastly, to remove the top panel, there's a little fabric pull tab and you can just grab that pull tab and lift the panel away from the case. One of the newer tests that we do with these Fishtank cases is the flex test with the corner where there's no support when building. So on the Corsair 6500X, there is quite a bit of flex. I don't think this is telling the whole story though, because it has this additional support panel. So remove this, and I have a feeling that the flex is gonna be crazy now. It's a little bit more, but this is quite flexy for a premium case. Interesting. For dust filters, there's a removable front dust filter and you can slide it out like this from the front of the case. I like that cases are doing this now, much more convenient for cleaning. There's also a dust filter built into the side panel of the case and it is kind of removable, but not as easily removable as the one at the bottom of the case. For power supply support, the Corsair 6500X supports up to 225mm long power supplies. As you can see, the cavern here for the power supplies is quite large. Again, dual chamber case, and the power supply goes on the back side of the motherboard tray, and there's plenty of space for all of the fun cable management things. As far as storage, you can do 3 2.5-inch drives or 3 3.5-inch spinning rust drives. On the rear of the case, there is this removable panel with a captive thumb screw, and behind that are 2 hard disk sleds. This will take 3.5-inch drives. Basically, you just push the clips together and you can slide these trays out like that. On the side of that drive cage, there are 2 more sleds for 2.5-inch drives. Now, there's another mount that may not be obvious, but it doesn't include extra brackets for it. But you can install another drive on the bottom of the case in this location here. For fan and radiator support, you can do up to 3 140mm fans, 3 120mm fans. For radiators, you can do up to a 360 or a 280. A 420 will not fit up here. On the bottom is the same as the top. You can do 3 140s, 3 120s, or a 360mm radiator. Only use a radiator at the bottom if you're doing a custom loop though. On the side bracket, it's removable and you can do up to 3 120mm fans or a 360mm radiator or liquid cooler. Lastly, on the rear, you can do either a 120mm fan or a 140mm fan. As well as all that fan and radiator support, something I thought was worth mentioning, if you're custom water cooling, there's a drain port at the bottom of the case, and essentially you just need to punch that out and you can have a drain at the bottom. I think that is very, very good because this is definitely going to be the lowest point of your case if you're custom water cooling, and it's going to make it very easy to drain a loop. For motherboard support, I think this one's quite interesting because they say it's ITX up to ATX, but if I put an EATX board in the 6500X, you can see that it quite easily fits in the case. But what's more interesting is this supports back connector motherboards, but it also supports MATX back connector boards. What we've seen on some of these larger cases that support back connectors is they won't support the MATX boards. So here is an MSI Project Zero board. You can see that this board fits in and the back connectors aren't touching anything. There's cutouts for MATX. So I'm not sure why you'd want to do this, but recently we've been getting heaps of questions about back connectors. So it's just good to show you guys how this would work. For GPU support, it supports GPUs up to 400mm long. Look how massive this 4090 is, and it still looks tiny in this case. However, even though this has support brackets for each PCIe slot, you can still use a vertical GPU bracket. There's a single thumb screw on the back of the case. If you loosen this thumb screw, you'll notice that this whole bracket pops out, which means you can slot in a vertical GPU bracket into this slot. And I'm not sure which vertical GPU bracket is supported, but I've got some random Leon Lee one here, and I think it should work, except for one glaring issue. There's nowhere to fasten any third-party vertical GPU brackets. So I think Corsair probably makes one, and their one's probably the only one to use for this case. A little bit disappointing, but it will support vertical GPU brackets in some capacity. I think cable routing is done quite well on the 6500X. We've got these grommets along the edge here for passing all of your cables through, right? Up top, there's a couple more grommets as well for passing cables through. And there's also these through pass-through holes at the bottom where your motherboard would go, but it's got a couple other little interesting things as well. There's little cable hooks all around the inside of the case in strategically placed locations. So there's one above where your I/O would be if you had a fan on the back, so it's nice that that is held down. There's also a couple placed in corners, so you can route cables around the corner and kind of hide them, which is very nice as well. The other thing with all these dual chamber cases is for cable management, you just jam all your cables back there and it doesn't matter how it goes. For the internal case wiring, they've made all of the cables and all of the connectors white, which is pretty nice for a white case. Obviously it's going to be black on the black case, but we've got a single block for all your lights and all your switches. We've got two USB Type A front panel connectors, because there's 4 ports on the top. There's also USB Type-C and front panel audio. For top panel I/O, we have a power button with a combined power light, a combined headphone and microphone jack, a USB Type-C port, 4 USB Type-A ports, and a reset button. Something that you might find interesting if you're into modding your case or you want to customize this case a little bit is there are removable trim panels. I'm not going to remove all of them, but I'll just give you guys kind of an idea of how this works. But on the top edge here, there's this removable trim piece. This is solid metal. This is like so freaking solid, it's insane. But you can get wood panels and like a whole bunch of other different textures and whatnot to replace these edge panels. The 2 top panels, as mentioned, can be replaced by a wood panel. as well as the front panel as well. So you can really make this case your own. That's everything I think you need to know about the Corsair 6500X for now. There's a couple interesting things with the build quality of this case. It is a little bit higher quality than Corsair cases would typically be, even down to these metal feet down here, but let's do a build and we'll test the thermals and then I'll let you guys know if this is worth your hard-earned money. And like I said in the intro, it's worth a lot of hard-earned money. Let's do a build thing. Alrighty, let's take a look at the thermals. What you're seeing on your screen right now with the Corsair 6500X is the thermals are actually quite good. Now, it wasn't something that I wasn't expecting because the 6500X is a dual chamber case. We've got it set in a chimney layout and it's got a lot of intake and adequate exhaust. And this is kind of the story with these cases. It's pretty hard, I'm gonna say it, it's pretty hard to fuck up this formula, right? It is, it just is. A lot of these cases will just perform well. What it really comes down to is the filter situation in these cases. A lot of them have top filters. This one doesn't, so it's nice. You don't have it, but typically I would say, hey, you know what? Remove the top filter, thermals would be good. And that's the case here. It doesn't have it, so the thermals are just good. Keep in mind, like usual, 7800 X3D. It doesn't get hot. Again, the reason why we use it, super popular CPU for a gaming PC. Also, this GPU, 4070 Ti, doesn't really get hot, but also very popular at the moment for gaming. So the components in this PC, I think, are a pretty good mix. So yeah, like the thermals are quite good. Now, if you're interested in any of the rest of the hardware used in this build, I'll put a PC part picker list down below in the description. I gotta say though, I did forget to film one clip of the motherboard with everything on there. I usually use that clip to say what all the hardware was, but PC part picker list will be there from the jump in this video so you know everything, but I might just figure out a way. You know what? I figured it out in my head. Something else that someone's probably going to comment about, and I like to address these things because I think it's funny because when you make videos, you can predict what people are going to say, and it's going to be, hey, why did you use black fans mixed with the white fans and whatnot? And the answer is pretty simple. I tried to get fans for this case, and there's no stock anywhere for these white Corsair fans. I couldn't find them, and if you can find them, that's good. But at the time of organizing this and filming, they just weren't available. So I used all the black ones that I had, and the white ones that are on the cooler come with the cooler. Maybe I should have just bought like 3 or 4 coolers so I could have got the fans out of the cooler. I don't know. There's no way I would have done that. What do I think of the 6500X? Well, I've got to say this. From when the 4000D came out, Corsair really stepped up the build quality for their cases, and there's no exception here with the 6500X. The cable management is excellent. This was ridiculously easy to build in. Yeah, I think you guys are going to find it easy to build in if you decide to build one of these for yourself. These metal panels, the really thick ones, help a lot with the case rigidity. You probably saw that when I did the flex test, which is a new test we like to do here with dual chamber cases. And overall, I think there's probably one thing that I didn't like about the 6500X, and it's kind of a mistake that Corsair's continued to have made since the 4000E, and that is top radiator mounting. Look, I get the fact that you can do a 360 up the top and 3 140mm fans or whatever it is at the top, but Corsair, can you please move the mounting closer to the glass? Because with the EPS power cables and a just pretty standard 360mm liquid cooler with the fans on it, I still had to bend the EPS cables in a weird way. Like, it didn't go in easily like every other case. I just think it's odd that even with their own cooler and all their own components, they still haven't figured that out. I've said this so many times. Corsair, if there's someone from Corsair who's listening to this, which there probably will be, fix that. It will look better closer towards the glass as well. It will help with better clearance on things. In fact, it'll probably allow you to do a 420mm AIO at the top as well. I mean, you guys make a 420mm AIO. Why not support it in one of your bigger cases? It's just so odd that, I don't know why. Maybe it's a matter of like the team who does the thermal solution doesn't talk to the case team and vice versa. Other than that, like, the case is really, really nice, and I think Corsair's done a fairly good job with it, but they should have done a nice job with it. Because, ladies and gents, if you're interested in the Corsair 6500X, it's going for around $199 US or 329 Australian dollars at the time of filming this video. I've got something to say about that. First of all, this isn't even the most expensive version of this case. They have an RGB version with fans, which is considerably more. Second of all, I can see why Corsair's tried to justify the price. Firstly, because it's Corsair and they do whatever they want anyway. That's just how bigger manufacturers will do stuff. But the other thing is, these metal panels are, I know quite a bit about case manufacturing. Now, I've been doing this long enough. I've spoken to a lot of engineers who work on these cases as well. This stuff is actually kind of expensive. It will push the price of cases up, and to do the bends, like the perfect curve on the back of them where the screw holes are, apparently that's quite expensive to do as well. But is it $199 US expensive? I don't think so. You know, Corsair do what Corsair do. There's a tagline, Claire. Here we go, ready? Corsair do what Corsair do. Yeah. Other than the price, like, it is a really nice case. It's very, very good quality, but I think this one is a little bit on the expensive side. I know what you're gonna say already. It's something along the lines of, oh, you know, just buy the 011, it's cheaper, or buy the Antec C8, it's cheaper, or just like some other Fishtank and it's cheaper. And for once, I might agree with you, because it is just a little bit too expensive for what it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Yeah, I don't hate it. Like, there's actually not much to hate about it except the price. All right, if you like the music you heard here, I make all the music. It's available by clicking that join button right down there, down below in the description. I'm your boy Nick with Gear Seekers. You pick, we seek, and here is my favorite creature on earth other than Claire, a little Bindi. I caught her when we started to film. She was laying on the table, just hanging out, and I felt bad because I wanted to put the case on the table to begin filming, and she was just so cute. Look how cute she is. She's just having a little nap. Sometimes with cats, you don't want to disturb them. You don't want to be their enemy. You want to be their best friend. So you just let them sleep. Yeah, she had a good little nap here. She's such a lovely looking cat. Come on, guys. Look, come on. She's the best looking cat you've ever seen. Yeah, you guys have been asking to see Bindi more, and you've been loving the last 6 videos where I put her in there. So you know what? Bindi's just going to be at the end of every video now. It's easy. She's always doing something cute. I just never film it. And yeah, hey Bindi, you're cute.